that whichever drawing it is, okay, that animal keeping area would be impacted by the use of the steel building, like whether to pull in, back in, whether to go around it. So I think part of it is that concerns of what happened in the future. But once again, there is shown an adequate open area, you meet the square footage, and I don't think you can base a decision on what's going to happen in the future.
That's what they said, they were concerned about what somebody might do in the future.
Right. And what can be done in the future is the building could be, if you were to sell the property, the building could be torn down, or at the same time, you could come in and concrete the whole thing.
Sure.
Right. And I don't think we'd ever be able to protect ourselves with that. I mean, it's an allowable thing to do. No, if you don't mind, I'd just like to ask Commissioner Leonard, which sheet did he prefer?
You want him to come to the podium?
Well, the building's in the same place, and that really doesn't change.
Yeah, but
It's just showing that there is access two different ways.
right.
It's not like putting a road in or anything, it just shows.
But do you have a problem whether it's sheet 1 or 1A?
I don't know.
It's just basically showing the animal keeping
Yeah, it shows the animal keeping area,
Yeah.
it shows the building.
So
in the
either
same
you have a
place.
path to travel one way or a
I
path to
was
travel
just
the other
showing that
way.
it could be done. Lots of room to get to. They were concerned you had to drive through the animal keeping area.
Right.
And I showed that you don't have to.
And basically then it's a block out of area. It's just space. And the footage is met. Steve, you agree with all that?
Yes,
And what was,
and I spoke with Commissioner Leonard, and he, of the two, now he voted with the unanimous denial, but
Right.
of the two options, he liked what you have as 1A attached to your packet, with access around the front.
That's the way I look at it.
but what we have in front of us again is all of this does meet the requirements for animal keeping
Yeah.
and lot coverage.
Yes.
And the basis for denial was,
The same reasoning, that they didn't feel that the layout was going to be the best option to promote animal keeping because of the turning radius and access issues to have to get into the garage the way it was cited with the doors pointing towards the animal area.
thank you.
Steve, on the plans, whatever one we adopt or approve or deny, this then becomes permanent listing of the AKA, correct? The animal keeping area for this property.
No, this is an open animal area, so it's not recorded. It floats. So if they came in with another building, this could float to some other part of, if there was room, it could float to some other part of the property. But this is not recorded.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if we approve sheet 1A or 1. They can go anywhere.
Yeah, that's, they're both the same. It's just a big open area. And what the applicant was attempting to show, not for the planning commission to pick one or the other, is that you could go around it in the back, you can go around it in the front.
But
Well-
and I haven't been on that question. No, I just want to make sure that in the amount of space that's listed on the AKA does meet, like,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
What I was going to suggest as a solution to your concerns is that this is conditional use permit, it's not site development,
Correct.
it's conditional use permit. And you can condition it to have that as a permanent designated animal keeping area.
Are you talking, is it a restriction?
It's a conditional use permit. I mean, that in order to build a building, it has to follow the conditions of the conditional use permit.
And we have done it in the past, for variances.
How would you word that condition?
Just whatever option the city council chooses, that area designated needs to be recorded before a building permit can be issued for the accessory building.
Yeah, which I don't think is a problem for anybody.
So we're forcing the applicant into a deed restriction with that condition?
Not a deed restriction, but you're doing, I mean, it's a conditional use permit.
Right.
That the only way that the structure is allowed to remain on the property is if there's compliance with the conditions of the conditional use permit. I don't know that you need to record anything other than having this as an exhibit to the CUP.
Then maybe I misunderstood Steve.
Yeah, I think Steve was taking the next jump. I don't think that there's,
Okay.
because what could theoretically, talking about the future, what could theoretically happen is that he sells it and the next guy in says, I don't like it there, and I want to move it, I want a barn, and he comes in and gets a new CUP. And that's how it gets moved.
So, and then it's a conditional use permit, all right? So we would, if the applicant is open to this, that we would add a condition that would run with the property, correct? That the exhibit as shown on sheet 1A, as far as the open animal keeping area,
Yeah, you could actually just modify condition 1, say approval is based on exhibit D, site plan and building elevations and site location as depicted in sheet 1A, and attach it.
I'd probably make it a little, I mean, again, if it's what you want to do, I'd probably make it a little more specific, addressing the animal keeping area, rather than just referring to the exhibit.
would you be acceptable to that? Try to reference sheet 1A?
That would be fine.
And I would ask our attorney to word the condition.
I think that Steve's right, it's just section 1, number 1, approval is based upon exhibit D, which will now be A1, site plan and building elevation stated April 26, 2016, and incorporated herein by reference in the filed planning division, comma, specifically as to the location of the animal keeping area, or designated animal keeping area.
Yeah, that would be acceptable. You know, it's about the only form of protection that you really have. Because, I mean, the other side of this is that if the property owner wants to come in and pour concrete or put gravel down and use it for anything else, that they certainly have that right to do it.
Yeah, and yes, theoretically, you could also include a condition which could include placing concrete, for example. But
That, see, I don't think you can.
no, it's a CUP, it's not a site development.
Right.
It's a CUP. I mean, I have a CUP and I have very strict guidelines that I have to adhere to in order to have that CUP, because what you're doing is you are changing the complete tenor of a neighborhood. And I realize nobody cares about that, but the truth of the matter is we're fighting for something that we really value. And unfortunately, we've been hit with two lots that are very strange lots. And what's gonna happen is your kids aren't gonna have this stuff. And that's what my fear is. And we're trying to find a pathway here, and, I mean, I know you're gonna drive over it, I get it. I know you're not gonna use any of the stuff you're proposing. And what I really admire is you're just honest about it. And, you know, our job, one of our jobs is all of us were elected to try to protect a certain way of property. And we're the last one. And so we just do one here, do one there, do one here, do one there, and before you know it, they're gone. And so, again, we're trying to find a pathway for you, but I would like a CUP in which the problem too, then of course, is if you have a barn, you decide to put in concrete. And you have a concrete floor barn. That's a very big possibility. But I don't know, as a CUP, I think that at least we can at least keep the dirt, I would think. Otherwise, just let him put in the driveway he wants to put in and just drive right through it. Which I guess is that the intent of the PACAs as they came through, was that we just drive through them? I don't think so. Now, I realize that people come from the outside and they go, gee, we love all this big property and stuff. And I'm not trying to bag on you, because you've been straight up. I admire that. But understand our predicament. We're really trying to preserve a way to keep these large lots in such a way.
I've always had large lots. I came from a house in Rancho PV that had the same size lot that we have now.
And how many big lots do they have there?
Not too many.
Yeah. And see, it's a tough situation.
A suggestion which
Yeah.
didn't go too well on this end of the table.
What was the suggestion?
One of the conditions could be that animal keeping area may not be paved or covered.
And that didn't sit well with you guys?
It's hard to enforce.
Well, you can't enforce it. You can't. But you know what, at least we can say that.
Yeah, and
Put it in.
I'm missing the part that you can't enforce. This is, again, not a site development. We're not looking to the zoning code.
You sat on a council that about 1999 decided to get rid of all code enforcement in the city of Norco. We just got it back last year.
But
I mean, you know, the yo-yos that go, we'll do code enforcement. It took us 15 years to get it back.
you're right, we have to be aware of it. But I mean, clearly, if it says you can't pave it or can't cover it with solid with
That'd be-
concrete.
They're right, it wouldn't get enforced, there's no way, because we would never know to look at this CUP to see if it's restricted from concrete.
I'm counting on you, Steve.
No, we wouldn't do it, I tell you.
John,
We've never done it.
there's no code that says this gentleman couldn't come in and gravel that entire yard. All you can be concerned about is that there's almost 2,900 square feet of open space for future animal camping. But if he wants to put gravel down on his entire property, he can.
Yeah.
If he wants to pour a concrete slab, if he's got the money to cover it all in concrete.
What I'm saying,
You don't even need a permit.
forgetting the enforcement issue for a second. If the conditional use, pretend it's a conditional use for a restaurant. If you say that you can't, here's where the fence has got to be, and you can't have parking here, and somebody comes in and buys it and puts parking there, you revoke the CUP. That's the remedy that you have with CUP that you don't have with simple site development where you're relying on the code. So, I mean, you don't have to do it, I'm just suggesting that it is enforceable, whether it's easy to
Except you
find
don't
out.
require a permit for concrete.
I'm suggesting that it has, no, Norco neighbor would ever turn in a neighbor, that never happened before, but,
Now, you also have a condition, that's a standard condition, I'm assuming you agreed to it, that if the building is used for any other use other than what it's intended, that conditional use permit can be revocated up to you removing the building from the site.
Correct. I understand.
And you would agree to that if planned.
Yeah.
No, that one's a little easier to enforce.
Council, we do have a card on this. Do you want to hear the card?
I don't have any other questions for the applicant.
We may call you back up.
All right.
I'm going to open the public comments.
Mike Thompson.
Good evening, council. Let me refresh everybody's memory. The paver house. Exactly the same thing. The guy put all the pavers down to get to his barn. A CUP, he meets all the criteria. He has the flat area. We're just talking about access from driving through it. I mean, I don't understand what the CUP would accomplish, trying to block the CUP, trying to keep him having to live with a dirt space. You know, my animal keeping area right now, the majority of it's got grass growing in it to keep the dirt down, so. And
That's not allowed.
grass.
Just kidding.
And when we went around about hardscape, and you said during hardscape that it was,
Yeah, again, that's part of my point, is that was not a conditional use permit.
yeah.
Conditional use permit, it means it's a permitted use subject to conditions.
Well, the hardscape all came into the accessory building.
Yeah, but it's.
Because it's not a packet. You just want to keep enough on the 40% so that future homeowners can have animals.
Yeah, I'm not.
How hard do we want to
one way or the
trample on
other.
current homeowners when,
Yeah.
over the fact of whether or not they're going to be driving over their packet? So that's my problem with trying to restrict the animal keeping area.
And I'm just suggesting an alternative, not trying to convince anybody it's the best idea that ever happened.
Well, it's, again, it's, we've had so many of these come through in the past, they're not, and I've been here over 30 years, I have a real hard time with having to designate an animal keeping area when I'm well within my 40% lot coverage. But I understand that in some cases, because of the similar lot sizes, you don't want the animals sticking their head in the bedroom window and these type of things, so.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
So do we have a motion, a solution? Do we have I like the idea that we do officially, per the CUP, designate that as an animal keeping area that travels with the land. No, it would travel to the homeowners.
Conditional use permit runs with land.
Kevin, I think that's about all we can do. We meet all the other requirements, and like I said, the open space is shown for animal keeping.
So anyway, so the motion I'll make is that the animal keeping area will travel with the land, and that it will be that designated area, because he's gonna, I do admire it. In fact, you're just straight up, buddy, I like that. I'm gonna drive through it, I got it. I totally get where planning's coming from, but unfortunately, we're dealing, somehow we're gonna have to, he's got a pie-shaped property, and it's just from the get-go, it's just a very difficult situation, and I'm like Ted, a 5-0 vote is a really tough thing for me to get around, because we have directed them to protect animal keeping, and so, but at the same time, it's like, it's legal. What he's doing is legal, but at least maybe we can get out of it that he has a designated animal keeping area. So I guess the motion is that we allow this, provided within the CUP there is a animal keeping area that
So you're going to adopt resolution 2016-55
with the,
subject to the amended section 1.
that's my motion.
Keep open, I'm not going to say anything again. That the motion is to adopt resolution number 2016-55, subject to the amended section 1, number 1, condition approval.
And the CUP travels with the land, and that is always the designated.
That's the law. You
I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear on it.
And did you get the language when?
Yes, I'll get it, yeah.
And I don't have a second.
And that's
It's my motion.
your motion.
Second.
Councilmember Grunmeyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Newton?
Yes.
Mayor Bash?
Yes.
Motion carries.
2 for 2.
Moving on to city council, city manager, staff communications, anything, fire department, police department, Brian? Anybody here? I have one thing that I've been told about that I don't know what to do about. The manager of the Hobby Lobby complained that he still can't get people to turn into. Is there anything we can do to help him on that light at Hobby Lobby? It's too short. The one where you're coming over the freeway and in other words, it's like 2 seconds.
There's no
And
light.
he's a really nice guy, but he says, I can't get anybody, I can't get in there. Is there something we can do about that? Anybody? Well, Chad, there you are.
That particular intersection is controlled by Caltrans. We're actually, and that currently is a unprotected left turn. We're actually working with Caltrans to get that changed to a protected left turn, which will allow a steady flow of cars to go through before
It used to
it
be,
changes.
and then they changed it.
Yeah, so we're looking to get that changed to a protected left turn, so that will allow just a constant steady flow of folks coming through First coming down oncoming traffic, we can't see through the trees. So we're looking to have them make that change. And we've been working on that for several months. It's just unfortunately Caltrans, it's a very slow process.
And then the other thing is that in terms of WRCOG, India, do we have any update on where we're at in terms of the pre-funding we need for the bridge? We've got a great report from you on the bridge. Is there something, where does the 8 million come from?
I think I sent an update to the city council last week.
Yeah.
And precisely, we're trying to get the engineering and the environmental work done. There is a reasonable expectation that once that is done, Riverside County Transportation Commission will help us identify and provide the funding for the construction piece.
Great, okay, good. I just kind of wanted to put that out there. And then, I guess, council have anything?
Yeah, just one thing, because Brian skated all meeting. My quarterly question for the last 12 years. Our gateway entrance to Hamner and Detroit. Status of finishing the median. Because I haven't asked you.
Well, we can take a look at that since we have some money that we have been able to put aside from the deposit fund tonight.
I don't want to have to ask again.
Is that all, Greg?
Yeah, Chad
Thank
put me
you.
up to it, so.
Ted?
Okay, we just went through 2 of these tonight, and then plus the temple. This is 2 more than we should be going through on these appeals. And there's got to be something other than this. I'm sitting here and Robin's shaking her head. We don't have the time, a lot of times the skill set for everyone here to go through these planning commission denials. There is a process, John knows this, dispute resolution processes. There's several, and one of them is called mediation. I would like to see us form a conflict resolution board to where if an applicant gets a denial on their plans, before it comes here, it sits down with 2 planning commissioners, staff, and maybe an outside mediator, and get these measures resolved before they come here. Because this is getting ridiculous. It's expensive, I know, for the applicant, but it's getting, we need to get it resolved before it comes here. This is like courtroom, we're the final. And it would be, I think, in the best interest of the applicant and the city to get these matters resolved on a basis where we talked about going to having an ad hoc committee. Why don't we have some kind of resolution committee that goes back when these things are denied?
There is nothing inherently wrong, you have to think about how it's structured for due process reasons. Nothing inherently wrong with, after something might be denied by the planning commission, that it go to some other body before it comes here as a condition of appeal to try and resolve it.
Yeah, but then you have to do something else.
If it gets resolved, it still has to go back to the planning commission.
You're gonna have to pay a mediator.
But at some point, the applicant has a right to have the head guys make a decision. But there's nothing inherently wrong with it.
Is there anything, there's nothing illegal about doing something? Okay. Then I would suggest that I would like to see this agendized for future council and have staff look into having some kind of conflict resolution board for the planning department on issues where there is a denial on a project. So that at least give that option to the applicant prior to bringing it here.
What's happening is we're getting hit with, both those properties were odd properties.
I understand,
Very
Ken.
odd properties.
And what if
And
we're gonna
maybe-
resolve with the new, hopefully with the new ordinance that you're gonna present to us on August 17th. But it used to be you'd have 1 or 2 of these a year. We're getting about 10 now, and more and more.
Because planning,
And Andy can,
I agree with you. You have too many and you should. The question is, what is the best way to go about it? Is that the planning commission is denying too many of these?
yes.
There is also a city council appealing
That's the problem.
some of these. But we can go take a look and provide our statistics and see what might be resulted in some of these time-consuming items for the city council.
I mean, without thinking too much about it, one approach might simply be that if something's denied by the planning commission, that there are 2 members of the planning commission and the staff, or sort of the third party, meet just them, not the council or anybody, because the council's got to hear it eventually, to see whether or not there's a means of resolving it and give a fairly short window period, or they can waive it and
Problem is to find
Yeah.
2 planning commissioners.
have the right to appeal it.
I do.
make a motion to agendize this like that for staff to look at.
Second.
Councilmembers Grunmeyer? Hoffman?
Yes?
Newton?
Yes.
Mayor Bash?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Anything else from staff? Anybody?
Real quick.
Ms.
Oh, real
I'm
quick, sorry, Steve, this is for you. Just, and it's super quick. For, when we get the minutes from the planning meeting, if the applicant is there, can that be noted in the minutes? I'm having a tough time when it says public comment, nobody came to speak, or whatever the case may be. I would like to see a little bit more detail in the minutes so that I have a better understanding, because like when I read these, I made the assumption that the applicants weren't there, which gives me a different view of than if the applicant was there. So if that could be noted. And then the second thing, if I could get a cheat sheet, please, that I could put in my notebook of denied with prejudice, denied without prejudice, denied blah, 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 and what fees are associated, like whether they have to pay them or all that kind of stuff, just so I have it as a reference in my notebook, that would be greatly appreciated.
What's the term
Bullet point,
on that?
the term? Oh. Finance
Cheryl
meeting.
knows.
And then,
Counterintuitive?
oh yes, counterintuitive, yeah, cause, yeah, I talk to him about it all the time. Like which one is which, and the wording doesn't necessarily make sense with the one that it says. So, I just need a cheat sheet, please. Thank you.
If there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.
Bottom line is the fact that the city has to micromanage everybody's stuff.